Matrix and welcome to Was a Matrix. My name is Luni and today we'll be assisting you with your exam prep for maths literacy. Don't forget to send us all of your questions and comments on all of our social media platforms. Just search for Was a Matrix and also send your messages through on WhatsApp. The details are on the screen, guys. Don't forget, guys, we've got a cool competition going on, so please do stay tuned to get all of those details later on in the show. As always, I'm not alone. With me are my sign language interpreter, Nicolene, as well as our awesome teacher, Hayley. Thank you so much, guys, and over to you.
Thanks, Lini. Welcome. Today we're going to be doing some exam prep for paper 1. So let's see what we've got. So we're going to be looking at the Eastern Cape prelim from this year, and we're going to be doing, well, question 2.1 from the paper, and I'm calling it question 1 because it's the first question that I did with you. So we've got Mr. Tao plans to renovate his house at a cost of 25,000 Rand. He approaches his bank for a personal loan. He was provided with a personal loan repayment plan as shown in table 1. So let's go see what table 1 says. Okay, so let's see what table 1 says. We've got a personal loan repayment. This is our loan amount, and we've got different amounts. We've got 10,000, 20,000, and 30,000 Rand. And then they give you monthly payments at different periods, that's different times, with an interest rate of 9.75%. What's important to note about this table is that it gives you 6, 12, 24, 36, 48, and 60 months, but they have worked out the repayment for you. So you do not need to actually take that percentage into account at all. It's been calculated for you. So if you're borrowing 10,000 Rand for 12 months, you're going to be paying that amount. Then also we need to note there's initial administration fees of 1,207 Rand and 50 cents and a monthly admin at 69 Rand. And it's important to note that that is a monthly payment. Okay, once we've analyzed the table, let's move on and see what the question is. So it says, determine how much of his own funds Mr. Tao will have to use to renovate the house if he takes out a personal loan of 10,000 Rand. So if we remember correctly, he needed to do renovations for 25,000 Rand. That was what his house renovation was going to cost. He's taking out a loan for 10,000 Rand, so all I'm going to need to do is minus the 10,000 Rand and see that he's using 15,000 of his own money. He's using 15,000 Rand. Have I answered the question as how much of his own funds he's using? I have answered the question. Right, let's move on to the next part of the question. Got my table again. Mr. Tao eventually decides to take a personal loan, 10,000 Rand, repayable over 4 years. So now when we remember the table, our payment was not in years, but it was in months. So I'm first going to take my 4 years and times that by 12, just to get so that's 48 months. So I know that he's taking it out for 48 months. I like to do these things within the question, so it brings me back to keep reminding me of things that I need to do. Okay. The initial administration fee, we need to determine, the initial administration fee as a percentage of the loan amount. So when we get a question with percentage, first of all, the first thing we know is we're going to times by 100. So it's times by 100. I'm also taking my fraction. So I'm looking for the words for as a percentage of. So it's of the loan amount. So my loan amount was my 10,000 Rand. Now, if you'd like, you can actually, and it's easier sometimes, leave out the unit there because it makes it easier to actually work with the numbers without the unit. And now I need to go to the table to see what that initial admin fee was. So it was 1,207 and 50 cents. So that is my amount. Right, so we're going to type in our 1207.50, divide that by 10,000, and remember to count your zeros, make sure it's 10,000, and finally times by 100, and we get our answer. It's 12.075%. Okay, so it's 12.075%. Don't forget your units. And the question now is, do we round or do we leave it as it is? And if I read the question, it says, calculate as a percentage. So I can leave this, but if you're thinking of rounding, rather leave your number as it is, and then you can round in the next step. Make it 12.08% or 12%. I'm quite happy with that. So make sure that you give your unrounded number first. Right, let's see what the next part of the question is. Okay, table again. So he eventually decides to take out a personal loan. Okay, the second part. The total monthly amount that he will have to pay for his loan. So we want to know the total monthly amount. Now, within the question, they're actually giving you some hints. So we're looking at a total and a monthly amount. So I'm going to be looking for the amount of money that he's paying per month. So let's go to my table. So we said 48 months, and he's taking out 10,000 Rand. So I'm going to read going down, and I'm going to read going across, and I'm going to see that it's 355 Rand and 95 cents. So that's what I'm going to write in. So 355 and 95 cents. But they asked me for a total. So I'm going to go back to my table, because I remember reading something on the table in these notes, and they told me that there was a monthly admin fee. So the monthly admin fee of 69 Rand, I need to add that. So I'm plussing my 69 Rand. Let's do that on the calculator. So I'm clear that. I've got 355.95 plus 69 Rand. Gives me an answer of 424 Rand 95. And 95 cents. Now I've answered the question. Let's see what the next part is. Okay, we want to know the total interest that he pays for his loan. The total interest is how much money he pays over and above what the loan was. So I'm first going to see my monthly fees was 424 Rand, and I'm just going to go to the numbers on the calculator, and 95 cents. That's what he's paying per month. He is paying that for 48 months. So I'm going to multiply that by 48. And in fact, on my calculator, and this very often happens, your calculator's already got the number that you need. So all I'm going to do is, on my calculator, I'm going to take that number and I'm going to multiply it by 48. And I'm going to get an answer of 20,397.6. So this is 20,397.6. And remember that 0.6, it's money. 2 decimal places, so you must add your 0. But now that's what he paid in total. He borrowed 10,000 Rand, so we've got to take off the 10,000 Rand, and I think I've got some space on my next page. So I'm going to take my answer from the page before, and I'm going to minus my 10,000 Rand, because that was the loan, not the interest. On my calculator, I've got this number, and I'm going to minus my 10,000 Rand, and I get an answer of 10,397.60 cents. And that is what he pays in interest. Okay, next part of our question. He paid his first installment at the end of March 2020, and the monthly installments are payable at the end of each month. Determine the month and the year when he will pay his last payment. So, paying at the end of March, which means a full year goes to the end of February. So I'm going to go from March to February is 1 year. And that February will be 2021. Okay? Then the following year, from March to February, will be 2022. That's the second year. And we're going to do this again, will be 2023, and finally 2024. So his last payment will actually be in February 2024. I always like to break it down year by year. It makes it easier for us to get to the correct answer. Right. Then it tells us that he receives a contribution of 250 Canadian dollars from his son who worked in Canada. Calculate the value of this contribution in rands if the exchange rate at the time was that. When we do exchange rate, it is just a ratio. So I'm not going to rewrite it, but I would normally rewrite it. It's just going to take us time now. We're trying to convert 250 Canadian dollars. And we want to know how much is that in rand. Okay? Now, I know with these kind of questions, you normally think to yourself, I know I've got to multiply or divide, and I never quite know which one. So what I want you to do is I want you to think about the numbers carefully. We had 1 Canadian dollar, lots of rand. So if I'm taking my 250 Canadian dollars, I'm going to make it bigger. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to multiply. So 250 times by 11,0. Don't forget all the decimal places. You cannot leave out any, you cannot round off an exchange rate. And then I'm going to get an answer. Now I know my answer needs to be bigger than 250. So I'm going to check my answer when I get it. So I've got, clear that, 250 times by 11,0555. And I get 2,763, which makes me think that I'm probably correct. 2,763, and now we're going to round that to 2 decimal places. So I'm going to write this number out. So it was 2,763.87. I'm going to write it at 875. Back. Okay, so that's 3 decimal places, but money has to be 2 decimal places. So we're actually going to change this to 2,763,88. And that's what he'll get from the bank. I think on that point, I think maybe it's time for us to take a little bit of a break, and I'm going to hand over to Luni.
Guys, we are going to take a quick break, but don't go anywhere. We'll see you straight after this. Welcome back from the break, Matrix. If you've just joined us, we are doing your final exam prep to help with the upcoming exams. Well, we've got some great news for you. If you're constantly running out of data, then this next competition is just for you. Matrix is bringing you the hashtag WazoWinner competition, where 2 lucky matriculants stand a chance to win 2 gigs of data. All you need to do is head on over to our Facebook page, and all of the details will be there. We've got a voice note now from our WhatsApp line, so let's check that out.
What is inflation? Thank you for that question. It's a really nice question, and I'm actually going to go over it in a few moments, because if you look at the Eastern Cape prelim, the question came up in that exam. So I'm going to start by showing you that this is table 2 shows the South African inflation rate from June 2017 to June 2019. I'm going to answer that question in an absolute moment. I'm going to show you the inflation rates. This is the table that they gave you. So 2017 was 5.27%, 2018, 4.62%, 2019, 4.38%. And then there's our question. Explain the meaning of the term inflation. So that's why I'm going to answer the question now. So your inflation is basically based on, we talk about a basket of goods. So we've got goods and services that we look at every single year, every single month. They look at these goods and services, and they say how much have they increased or decreased, possibly, from one period to the next. So it might be from 1 year to the next, there was our inflation rate there, or it might be from 1 month to the next. So how much has this changed over time? And that is what the meaning of inflation is how much have goods gone up or down over a period of time. So, and we look at the same goods and the same services every single time. So your goods might be, a loaf of bread, And your services might be going to the doctor or the dentist or putting tires on your car. So they look at the same amounts every time. So I hope I've answered your question. Let's move on to the next part of the question from the paper. And it tells us that the inflation rate decreased in 2019. Does this mean that things were cheaper in 2018 or in 2019? Now, this is a really, really important point. Really important. So if we look at our inflation rates, what I mean by it's decreased, it went from 4.62 to 4.38%. And the question is, does it get cheaper? In fact, if I had to look at a graph of this, I would have my graph of like 5.27, go down a little bit and go down a little bit more. So the graph looks like it's decreasing, but we're looking at a percentage. And once we have a positive percentage, it's still going up. So if I had to look at 100 Rand, something that cost 100 Rand in 2018, for 2019, I'm still increasing that by 4.38%. So I'm actually still multiplying it by 104.38%. And I'm going to see that that calculation will give me 104 Rand and 38 cents. So mathematically, I can see that it's going more expensive, and also the fact that it is positive. Let's see what the next question is. So the inflation decreased, does it mean it was cheaper? Definitely not. So it was not cheaper in 2016. Right, they want us to calculate the price of brown bread in June 2019 if the price was 12 Rand 24 in June 2017. Now, what's important with inflation is that we take our amounts, that's 12 Rand 24, okay, and we do this for every single year. So this was in 2017, so I'm now going to work out the price for 2018. So I go back to my table, and I'm going to see that my table, it went up by 4.62%. So taking my 12 Rand 24, and I'm increasing it by, so it was 104.26. I think it was 4.62. So on my calculator, I'm going to type that in exactly. Get my calculator out. Let's clear the calculator. I've got 12 Rand 24 times by 104.62%. And I get 12 Rand 81. And I'm going to round, it's money, so I need to round it to one decimal place. So that was 12 Rand 81. Now I'm taking my 12 Rand 81, and I now need to work out what 2019 was. Okay? So now I'm increasing it again by 100 and something percent. So let's go see what that was. It was 4.38, so 104.38% to get my answer. Now in this particular case, on my calculator, I'm actually going to retype the number because I now want the whole number. Bread would have cost me 12 Rand 81. So I'm going to retype that, 12 Rand and 81 cents, and times it by 104.38%. And I get an answer of 13 Rand 37. And that is what bread costs in 2019 if it cost 12 Rand 24 in 2017. Right, and then we've got a question, what did the same loaf of bread cost in 2016? So now I had my 2017, I had it, it was 12 Rand 24. So now how much did it cost in 2016? Now this is important. This is already been increased by the percentage for 2017. So I'm going to write it as a ratio, and I'm going to say my 12 Rand 24 was an amount of 100 and, let's go back to our table, it was 105 Rand, sorry, 105.27%. So that was 2017. Now I want to know what 2016 is. I'm looking for how much is that, and that would have been 100%. So what I'm effectively doing now is I'm actually dividing by the percentage. Or the way I do ratios, I write out what's above my question mark. So that's my 12 Rand 24. And I times by, I'm actually going to leave in space. I'm going to do this on the next page. I'm going to take my 12 Rand 24. And I'm going to times by the second number over the first, with 105,27. I'm going to go back to that other page to show you what I mean. Above my question mark times by my second number over my first. Okay, so now let's go to the calculator. So on my calculator, I've got 12,24 times by 100 and divide by 105,27. Get an answer to that was 11 Rand 627. So 11, let's write that down, 11,627. And remember, it's money, it must be 2 decimal places. So I'm going to 11,63 Rand. I think on that note, it's time to take a little bit of a break. So I'm going to hand you over to Looney.
Thank you so much, Hayley. Guys, we are going to take a break, but before we do, please keep sending us your questions and your comments, and also subscribe to our YouTube channel, guys. We've got our catch-up videos on there, so if you missed any of the shows, do subscribe and you'll catch all of the revision on that channel. So let's take a quick break and we'll see you straight after this. Welcome back from the break, guys. We are still busy with your final exam prep. Don't forget, if you missed any of our shows, we do have a YouTube channel. All of the videos would be uploaded onto there. Thank you so much, Hayley, and over to you.
Welcome back, Matrix. Let's do one more question from that Eastern Cape paper that we've been dealing with, and this is my third question, so I'm calling it question 3. Annexure A shows a floor plan of the Victoria Wharf Shopping Centre in Cape Town that Anati visits in June 2020. So let's see what the plan looks like. So we have a plan, and whenever we have a plan, whenever you have a map, what I want you to do is I want you to analyze it, to look at it carefully, and to see certain things that we need to look for. So we know this is the floor plan of the Victoria Wharf Shopping Centre. First thing to look for is, have we got a compass direction? Now, please remember that it does not mean north is always up. We like that, it makes sense to us, but we could have turned the shopping centre around and then north is no longer straight up. So look out for your compass direction and where the arrow is. Okay? We've got entrances, basement parking, it tells us all these things, shop numbers, we can see like Zara, Clicks, Woolworths, and then we've got some notes. Other than the basement entrances, the other entrances are on the lower level. Shops are indicated in numbers. So it's important that we read the map carefully. Right, let's see what our first question is. It says, write down the number of entrances that can be found on the lower level of the shopping centre. So let's go back to our shopping centre. So we're looking for the number of entrances. Now, what's nice about shopping centres is they normally number entrances. So we've got an entrance there, 2, an entrance 3, there's an entrance 4, there's an entrance 5, and have we got an entrance 1? Don't think we have an entrance 1. So this is a basement parking entrance, and if we look, basement parking entrance, so how many entrances have we got? We've got 4 entrances. So we can just put that number into our question, we've got 4. And I would actually add the word in 4 entrances. Right, see what our next question is. Determine how many shops can be found in the shopping centre. Now this is the kind of question that can be a little bit daunting, especially if you feel like you're running out of time. But I want you to just calm down and think clearly, because it really is quite an easy question. We literally need to count the shops. And what's easy to do, take a coloured pen, take a highlighter, and let's highlight so that we know we haven't missed any. So I'm literally going to count them as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 18, 19, 20. You see how important it is to actually highlight so you don't get lost. That was on 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So 20 and 19, I've got 39 shops. So now make sure you've highlighted all of them. We've got 39 shops. Now they want to know, determine the probability of randomly selecting a shop where an even number was used to label the shop. So give your answer to the nearest percentage. So now probability, and I know this percentage, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually type up that whatever my fraction is, I need to times by 100. So I know that. Now I'm going to go back to see what was my probability. Okay, so I'm looking for a number for shops that are even numbers. So now I'm going to choose a different color pen, and I'm going to look at evens. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, okay, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay? You might want to even look at your odd numbers and actually see, like indicate that you've seen them, so that when you look at your screen you can see that you've done it all. Okay? So my question was how many? So it was 20 out of 39 shops. And I'm going to take that and times by 100. Get my calculator out. So I've got 20 divided by 39 and times by 100. And I get an answer of 51,28. So my answer is 51,28%. And then the question had something else added to it. So it's always a good idea to actually reread the question, because the question said, give your final answer to the nearest percentage. So I need to change that number to 51%. And it's really important that you do that. That's a good tip to have, is like read your question, do your calculations, reread the question, because you'll pick up those extra marks. If they've given an instruction to round to a nearest percentage, believe me, there will be a mark allocated for that rounding. Right, our next question was from Woolworths, and Anathy turned right, skipped 3 shops on her right and entered the next shop. Write the number of the shop that she entered. So I'm going to go back to my thing. So from Woolworths, she turned right. So from Woolworths, she turned right. Now, this is something that I've had to learn the hard way. My husband will tell you, I can't tell the difference between my left and my right. I've got to always think about which pen am I holding my hand, which hand is holding my pen. Turn your page around so that it's actually easier for you facing it, and then you can see which is left and right. So we're going out of Woolworths and we're turning right. We're missing 1, 2, we're missing 3 shops on the right, and then we're going into the next shop. So she's going into shop number 159. I'll go back and write that. So it was shop number 159. And our next question, give the general directions of Mr. P from clicks. So, important when you're dealing with directions, where we're going from and where we're going to. So it's from clicks. So I'm looking for clicks. I'm going to find my map. There's clicks. And there's Mr. P. Now, whenever I do this, I highlight them on your page and then say we're going from clicks. So we need to be going that way. Now we use our compass directions, and I'm going to quickly remind you of your compass directions. Sorry, back. Your compass directions, so a quick reminder of your compass directions. We've got north, and in this case it was up, south, west, east. Okay, between the two we've got southeast, northeast, northwest, and southwest. Now, which way was our arrow going? Our arrow was going that way, so the answer is southwest. Okay. Our next question says, name the shop that occupies the largest area. Now, they just want a name. They haven't asked you to calculate anything, so we're going to go look at our map again and see which one has the biggest area, and we can quite clearly see that Woolworths is bigger than Clicks and is bigger than Mr. P, and I think bigger than all the other shops as well. So your answer to that will be Woolworths. Okay, next question. Identify the entrance number where there will be no shops on your right-hand side as you enter the shopping centre. Again, I would literally take this and turn it around, but let's see what our map says. Our map, if we go back to our map, we're looking for our entrance that will have no shops on the right-hand side. So if I go in entrance 4, go in, there's shops on my right. If I go into entrance 5, there's shops on my right. If I go into entrance 3, now if I would turn this around, there's shops on my right. So the only one is entrance 2, we go in, there are no shops on the right. So that would be the right, so it's entrance 2. So entrance 2. Okay, and now some of your final tips that I have for you. First tip is read your question carefully. I want you to read the question carefully. I want you to do your calculations, and then I actually want you to reread your question and ask yourself, have you answered the question that has been asked? Look out for those little marks rounding correctly, and round to the nearest 100,000 or round to the nearest percent. So don't lose those little marks. That's why rereading the question is really, really important. Okay? I want you to use your calculators, and I want you to show every single step of working. Show working. What's really important is that if you type it on your calculator, I want you to write it in your answer book. So I sometimes do something as simple as 2 times 3 on the calculator, but I want you to do that 2 times 3, write it in your book. So everything that is on your calculator, you write in the book, and make your answers logical so that the teachers can actually follow your train of thought. Don't forget that answers have a context and they have a unit. So don't leave out your units. Make sure you round correctly. For example, money is always 2 decimal places. And finally, I want you to check your answers carefully and ask yourself, does this answer make sense? So an example that came up in one of my classes a few years ago, we were filling a swimming pool, and we needed to have a bucket to fill the swimming pool. And one of my kids calculated that we needed like 1 billion buckets. And I said to them, does that make sense? Who's going to sit and do 1 billion buckets to fill a pool? And what ended up happening was that the bucket that they used was like the size of a teacup. So it didn't make sense. Make sure your answers make sense. Check your answers carefully. And make sure that you've given everything that you need, and just good luck. So I'm going to hand you back to Looney, and good luck for this paper.
Thank you so much, Haley and Nicolene. Guys, we're wishing you everything of the best for your final exams. Take all the tips you've been given. Send us your questions if you do have any. If there's anything you're unsure of, while you still have time, send those through to us and we can help you. A big congratulations to all of our competition winners who will be announced on our Facebook page after the show. Don't forget, guys, to go to www.wazamatrix.co.za to get all of the study material and the schedule available on that website. Also, subscribe to our YouTube channel. If there's any shows that you've missed when they air, they will be uploaded on YouTube as well. But then from me, Looney, Nicolene and Haley, thank you and goodbye.